because uh, whichever material you take, installation should be very proper. Otherwise, you will lose all the properties. Types of materials, insulation materials. We know traditionally we are using fiberglass or thermocol EPS or puff, rock wool, mineral wool, and the latest are nitrile rubber. In nitrile rubber, there are two types of materials, NBR or EPDM. Generally, EPDM we use for hot water and other applications or exterior applications. And we use XLPE also. And in XLPE also, there are two variants, cross-linked polyethylene or cross-linked polyolefin. We use extruded polystyrene also. Generally, these are used for overdeck applications or building envelope applications. Glass wool is also used, and we have other insulation materials. And these materials can again further classified based on their structure, whether it is fibrous or granular or cellular or foam. In HVAC, these are the general applications: supply air duct and return air duct. In high-rise buildings or multi-story buildings, in conditioned space, the top floor we do underdeck insulation, and function halls or any other industrial buildings we do underdeck insulations. In data centers and some other applications, even the floor is insulated. Chill water pipelines, in all our VRV, VRF jobs, all refrigerant pipes and condensate pipelines we insulate. And OEM equipments like chillers and all, they need insulation. They come with insulation. Regarding standards, depending upon the country or depending upon the specifications or requirement, there are many standards. So you can choose like what is the requirement. Generally, most of the manufacturers follow ASTM, UL, or FM approval or European standards. Even our Indian standards, we have some CBRI and all. British standards also people will follow. So you can choose as per your requirement, what are the standards required. These are some common insulation materials as discussed in two slides before. If you see elastomeric foam like nitrile rubber and other materials, they can operate up to 115 degrees centigrade. If it is EPDM, then it can work up to 175 degrees centigrade also. If you see the density of that material, it lies between 40 to 60 kgs per meter cube. Thermal conductivity generally at 0.033 to 0.038 watt per meter degree Kelvin at a temperature of 10 degrees centigrade. And water vapor diffusion resistance, a mu factor from 1000 to 12,000 depending upon the manufacturer and the quality of material. These data generally every manufacturer gives their in their catalogs, and I see as a layman, if you can see these four factors, you can be sure, like other than all other standards, to select insulation material, I see these four factors you need to be more focused. Hope English is okay, or should I talk in between Hindi also? Amitabh was telling like sometimes it is required. Somajit or Amitabh, can you respond?
Yeah, you can mix it up. We always do that.
Amitabh was just telling me like if possible, try talk to him, talk in.
Whichever is comfortable for you, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So we have polyethylenes again, the temperature range up to 85 degrees centigrade or 105 degrees centigrade. The densities If you ask me, then generally people get carried away with densities. But as per my understanding goes, the last 13, 14 years experience, whatever I have, I feel like density doesn't play that crucial role for a insulation material, other than it takes care of stability of the material. And nowadays we are mostly using foams. So foaming maybe at an optimal density of say 40 kg, or if it is XLP and all around 30 kg, you will get a better stability. And lesser the density, more air can be entrapped, thereby the thermal conductivity will get a better thermal conductivity at a lower value. So like in nitrile rubber, generally people sell two types of material in market. One, generally they call it as class O. There the density will be around 40 to 45 kgs per meter cube. Another one they call it as class 1, which is a retail product which sells in retail market. Generally the densities are higher there, maybe around 50 to 60 kgs per meter cube. If material is more, then you'll get a better skin quality. If material is less, yes, you'll not get a better skin quality, but you'll get good thermal insulation properties. So these are some materials, like you can have a glance. Now the next question is like which material to be used, because there are a lot of materials in market, a lot of generics are there, lot of manufacturers are there. So to select a insulation material, I think these six factors you can look at and you decide yourself which one to be used. First one is obviously the thermal conductivity and application temperature suitability. Like I select a material and it is not like I want to select a insulation material for hot water at 90 degrees centigrade, and this insulation material cannot function after 80 degrees centigrade. Even though it has a better thermal conductivity, it will not serve the purpose. So that application temperature also should be checked. Next is water vapor diffusion resistance. For any thermal insulation, this is the main villain. We'll talk about this in next slides. So this is a very important factor of the insulation material, and higher the value, it is better. Nowadays, we all are talking about IAQ. So the insulation material should not carry any microbes or mold, algae or other molds and all. So it should be free of dust and all. So better if you have a choice or option, like you can go for a material which will not produce all this material, all this bacteria and all. And fire properties, this plays a major role in selection of insulation material because of the density of people in any facility, like any office and all. Nowadays, it's all like crowded, like density is more. So any small accident, uh, generally with fire, there will be a lot of loss. So better select an insulation material which propagates less fire. As we all know, like the duct or other chill water pipelines or refrigerant pipelines, they travel entire flow, entire floor. So this should be avoid. Mostly the fire spread commonly found is through insulation material. So if you have a better insulation material on fire properties, we should choose that material. Yes, insulation material might be good, but it might harm environment. So if you have a choice, kindly choose a product which doesn't harm environment or health of the human beings or occupants. Tests and laboratories, yes, there are good laboratories and manufacturers gets their products tested in various laboratories. So if you have a choice, like choose products which are tested in good laboratories. Next, whatever installation material is you have chosen, but if it is not easy to install, then it will become difficult. So use installation materials which are very easy to use, easily it can be installed, or uh, it is like your labor friendly material. Like earlier, when people were using fiberglass and all other materials, they used to give a lot of complaints like itching and all. So, but still, you cannot forego that material. So, kindly take precautions and all. So, the first point is when you want to select insulation material, the first thing you check is the thermal conductivity. So, out of the all the options, you choose uh, the material which has the lowest K value. And as a reference point, you can see the K value at 0 degrees centigrade, because this K value differs at differently at different temperatures. K value depends on temperature, density of the material, moisture content, material composition, and other properties of material. The manufacturer will publish the data. You can check the K value and choose the lowest K value material. And in this industry, architects also play a major role. So for this underdeck insulation or some wall installations, they come into picture because of your ECBC codes and other codes, green building codes and all. So when they come with R value or U value. So don't get confused. R is nothing but thickness by K value, or U value is nothing but the propagation index, which is 1 by R. So the first thing is, now I'll go into a software. These softwares are readily available with all the manufacturers. Most of them will share with you, or otherwise you get all these softwares online also. So the thickness of the insulation material depends on the K value of the material, and this condition, atmospheric condition, generally, site people or the users, they don't tend to give importance to these atmospheric conditions, because whatever thickness you calculate, it depends upon these conditions, the atmospheric ambient temperatures or relative humidity, or whether the application is interior or exterior. I can show you in the software. Generally, people will say 19 thickness is okay, but later on they'll find all the problems like your condensation and all. Then you go back and do the calculations. You find out that 19 is not good. You should have used 25 and most of the time it is because of these atmospheric conditions. The application temperature and the coverings or claddings to determine the surface heat transfer coefficient. This is mainly, I'm talking about condensation prevention in HVAC applications. The surface heat transfer coefficient plays a major role in deriving the thickness. If the surface is shiny, then as per the software or as per the numerical formulas, the thickness will be to be used should be more. If it is a dark color surface, because of the surface heat transfer coefficients, at a lesser thickness also you can prevent condensation, because condensation depends upon the dew point temperature on the surface. There are softwares available like this. I think all manufacturers can give it to you. I'm just showing you one example. Let us say it's a duct thermal insulation. I open this software, and generally for HVAC application, our focus will be on condensation prevention. So I'm clicking this. Now, most of the time, condensation generally we come across in monsoons. So I take this ambient temperature for monsoon season in Kolkata as say 30 degrees centigrade. Is that okay?
35, 38.
In monsoon,
In monsoon, 30 is all right.
30 is already, yeah.
30 is okay.
and supply air in the duct I'll take at 14 degrees centigrade. And the insulation material, I'll go with K factor. I'll take some insulation material which is at 0.035.
Just
The
sorry.
relative humidity in monsoon,
Raju, sorry to interrupt you.
yeah,
We can't see the software,
The
Raju.
software we can't see. Are you showing the software also, or?
yeah, I'm showing the software. It is there in this thing.
Well,
But
actually,
we're
the
not able
slide
to
is
see,
there.
Raju.
Okay, I think I should do new share. 1 second. Now are you able to see?
Yes. Yeah. Now,
Yes.
Yeah, 1 second. So this is the software. I'm saying condensation prevention. Are you able to see now?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
we
Yes.
can
Yes.
see that.
Yeah. So ambient temperature in Kolkata, I'm designing keeping in view of monsoon. I'm saying it is 30 degrees centigrade. The supply duct at 14 degrees centigrade. Insulation, the K value at 0.035. Relative humidity, I'll take at 80% or 85% in Kolkata in monsoons. I'll take 85.
So it's more than 90% during monsoon.
See, Amitabh,
Mm.
well, optimization should be done. Like
Mm.
the time, it may not be 90%. Otherwise, if you want, I'll do 90% only, not a problem. I'll calculate the surface heat transfer coefficient. And I'm saying it is an inside application. And I'm saying we are not using any cladding. Continue, calculate. So in these conditions, atmospheric conditions, where the ambient is at 30 degrees centigrade, RH is at 90%, and there's no cladding on the insulation material, we are saying the thickness is at 37 mm. But what is the practice we use in supply air duct in Kolkata? I think we'll not use this much thickness, right?
Use less than this.
Yeah. So, and then what people, the designers, what they do is, if they change this relative humidity to say 80%, it will come around 15 mm. So generally people will use around 19 mm thickness like that. Right, sir? I think we should be interactive on this software.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. We use 19. Yeah, you're right.
We use 19, and maybe selection would be based on. But Raju, during monsoon, at times in Kolkata, the humidity goes above 90%, and so that is the reason probably we all face in at times, condensation, despite giving 19.
That is the exact reason, sir, why I am emphasizing on atmospheric conditions. See, optimization should be done. So out of 365 days, 3 months, let us take it is monsoon. And within those 3 months, maybe 1 week or 10 days, which is not continuous but irregular, 7 or 10 days, the average goes up.
Yeah. Understood. That's accepted. That is why.
So designer, yeah.
That is why widely 19 mm is used.
Yeah, but when you face condensation problem, you generally think of material quality. Material is not good, but it's not because of material, because of wrong choice of thickness. You change any parameter in this software, the thickness will differ. Like again, in calculating the surface heat transfer coefficient from no cladding to, suppose I go for say aluminum cladding. Thickness is differing. Earlier it showed 15 mm, now it is showing as 17 mm. And if I say proper aluminum foil, then again thickness is varying. So the type of cladding also plays a major role in selecting the thickness of the insulation material. These softwares are available and most of them can share with you. Any other parameter you want to check, like what happens, like suppose if supply air from 14 degrees, I'm saying it is 12 degrees. Or otherwise, I'll keep 4 only and I'll increase the ambient temperature to 35 and the RH to 85%. Then it is 32 mm. So it depends upon the location. As RH increases, the thickness of insulation also should be increased to prevent condensation. The energy losses and all also will become less, but because of optimal design and all, cost and other factors play in role. So you need to be a good designer to choose like what should be the ambient conditions. Similarly for pipes, the chilled water maybe at 6 degrees centigrade, your pipe dia maybe 2 inch. I'll say it's an outside application. Wind velocity maybe around 2 meters per second. And I'll say none. Continue, calculate. So it is saying around 9 mm. Because it's a outside application. Because there will be air movement and all. So the dew point temperature will also increase. Thereby at a lesser thickness, you can prevent condensation. Okay, I think I can exit the software. Like,
Yes, you may.
yeah,
If someone else has any question.
yeah. Of the screen is now on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
So once again, like the thickness of insulation material depends upon the K value of material and the atmospheric conditions, temperature, RH, and RH is a major player. The thickness differs to prevent condensation mainly on RH. I was telling about water vapor diffusion resistance, mu factor. It is a ratio. The water vapor diffusion resistance indicates how many times larger the resistance of a material to water vapor diffusion is than that of a stationary layer of air of equal thickness at the same temperature. It is desired to have a higher value always, which will keep the K value intact. See, I was discussing about stationary air And till now, we were discussing about Ka value of some insulation material.
Raju, you need to share the screen. It is gone.
It's gone. Huh?
Yeah, now it has come. You just need to put it in. Yeah.
Yeah. We were discussing about K value of insulation material, and I was telling like every insulation material will be having stationary air. In the previous software calculation, we have seen the K value of 0.035. See, universally available material is stationary air. The thermal conductivity of stationary air is at 0.023 watt per meter degree Kelvin. So I think that is the best possible naturally available insulation material. That is why all insulation materials, they try to entrap stationary air inside the insulation material. And we have water vapor also abundantly available without our choice. It is there everywhere. So this water vapor will try to enter into any type of material. So if that enters, slowly the insulation material K value will get deteriorated, and slowly the K value of the insulation material will come to K value of water. Water is at 0.5 watt per meter degree Kelvin at 0 degree centigrade. So this is the reason why insulation material should be protected from water vapor. If water vapor gets into the insulation material, then the K value of the insulation material will go for a toss. Gradually, it gets deteriorated. So that is the reason why all your generic insulation materials, they come with your foil, or they suggest you to go for claddings or other mechanisms. Yes, all these claddings and all, they give mechanical strength and other properties, but mainly insulation materials, cladding is done to prevent water vapor ingress. A small example as shown below. If you see the thermal conductivity, it is at 0.03 degrees centigrade, 0 degrees centigrade, 0.036. Same for two materials, but if you see the moisture ingress resistance factor, one material is having more than 7,000, the other one is having around say 1,200, like that. The material with lower moisture diffusion resistance, the thermal conductivity will increase to 0.0413 the very second year. Initially, it started at 0.036, but very second year it goes to 0.0413. Whereas the material which has better resistance to water vapor ingress, the thermal conductivity deteriorates to 0.0412 maybe after 10 years. So we are discussing this factor because nowadays every insulation manufacturer is talking about these parameters. When they come to you, when they come and explain to you, they'll talk of K value and water vapor diffusion resistance factor. So I think you need to consider mu value which is high. People will tell about more than 10,000 or more than 15,000 and all. But ideally, I think more than 7,000 should be more than enough. But if you have a better choice, like more than 10,000 and all, you can opt for that. It's not a problem. Higher, it is always better. K value, the lower, it is always better. Moisture diffusion resistance factor, the higher, it is always better. Some commonly available insulation materials with mu factor, fiberglass and all, it's 1 to 3. So you need to go for cladding compulsory. All your latest materials, they generally come with good mu factors. You can choose a better one. Regarding indoor air quality, antimicrobial properties, now almost all insulation materials, they are talking about ASTM G21, G22 tests, and they might be talking like they're using either ultra fresh or microban. These are the additives generally people will use in their insulation material to get this feature. It is an inbuilt feature got by adding additives like ultra fresh or microban, and there are many tests. You can choose whichever test you want to comply with. And if you ask me, then I'll suggest use these materials because of these properties, these materials will be costly. So wherever insulation material is, there's no say your fall ceiling and all directly exposed to like your hotels and all directly in the conditioned space. There's no fall ceiling. So there the conditioned air gets in contact with insulation material, or say your return air is passing through the attic space above your fall ceiling. Those places where the air is in direct contact with the insulation surface, better use this type of materials, antimicrobial materials, or your stringent applications like your hospital operation theaters or your specialized applications. You can definitely use this material. And we all use acoustic materials inside the duct, and air is in continuous contact with that insulation material. So for acoustics, people are giving options of antimicrobial properties. So I think you should use antimicrobial properties for acoustic material. So in HVAC, fire plays a major role in selection of insulation material. That is why most of the insulation manufacturers, they'll talk about our material is class 4 or class 1. Then only they'll come to your K value or mu factor and all. So generally, when we talk of insulation material, first thing we'll see whether it is class 4 or class 1 or other fire properties. What are the hazards in the event of a fire? Spread of fire to the entire establishment, smoke, speed of fire spread. So what are the requirements of an insulation material? The spread or growth should be minimal. Smoke should be non-toxic, and they should not produce flaming drops. Most of the time, accidents, the fire aggregates because of this flaming drops and all. Even though the other surfaces or other materials which are not in direct contact with this material, they catch fire because of these drops falling on them. Various countries have various codes like your British standards or European standards or American standards. Generally, worldwide, people prefer British standards for fire. So as per this British standard BS only, we get all this class 4 and other fire tests done. These are the common fire properties we come across, fire standards. People talk of BS 476 part 7. From that, they say it has class 1, class 2, class 3. Generally, we don't see any more class 2, class 3 and all. We generally see class 1 now. What is class 1? As per BS 476 part 7, a specimen is taken and seen the spread of the flame after 1.5 minutes. Anything which is lower than say 190 mm of spread, say 165 plus 25, it passes class 1 test. And final spread of flame, like till the fire get extinguished, what is the final spread? So it is again the same, whether it is 1.5 minute or till the time it gets extinguished itself, the total spread is around maximum 190 mm. It is say 165 mm to 190 mm. If you go to class 2, class 3, then the spread is more. But I think the retail market also, generally nowadays everybody is supplying class 1, where the spread is very minimal, up to 190 mm max. Then people talk of BS 476 Part 6 Class O. To go for this test, the material should pass Class 1 and the spread should be 0. You will get a Class 1 certification even if the spread of the fire is up to 190 mm. But to go for Class O test, the spread should be 0. Pass Class 1 certificate. After passing Class 1 certificate and spread is 0, then you can go for this BS 476 Part 6, where fire propagation index is measured, which determines ignition characteristics, amount of heat released, rate of heat release, ability to accelerate fire growth. These 4 parameters are very important because of various other materials in the surrounding of the duct or any other insulated surface. If the amount of heat it is when the amount of heat what it releases when it uh, catches fire, because of that heat or rate of heat, the surrounding materials which may not be in direct contact with this may reach their auto ignition points, and sometimes they might also catch fire even though they are not in direct contact. So this is what generally Class 4 tests. They will take a Class 1 material where the spread is 0 and they test fire propagation index also. And if everything is under control, then the material gets certified as Class 4. That is why most of the installation manufacturers they give you Class 4 material as a default material for all the projects. Among the various testing labs, Barrington Fire Testing Lab in UK is treated as one of the best for fire tests. Then comes FM approvals. This is again what I understand between Class O certification and FM. Class O certification and all, these are all called as type certifications, where you will send a sample to the laboratory, they'll test that sample and they'll certify that product. And this type certificates generally people will use up to 5 years as per the industry norms or standards. But whereas this FM test, they do periodic reviews and they continuously update the data in their websites. FM actually is an insurance company, and most of the projects in US, it's a very big company in insurance company in US. Most of the US projects, they go for insurance with this company. As per their study, they found out that majority of the claims are because of fire accidents. So they came up with this idea saying that they will test all the materials which are used in buildings, and they approve it for fire. And if the project uses only those materials, then they will give some discount in premiums and all. So that was the concept logic. So they started testing all the materials, not only insulation, other materials also which are commonly used in projects, and they started certifying. So I think nowadays many insulation manufacturers are all giving this FM approved, and especially if it is a US project, they tend to ask you for this FM approved product only. How this is how this test is done, I can show you. This is a room enclosure where the entire material is stuck, and there's a wooden crate there. They ignite fire to the wooden crate. That crib will burn for 15 minutes. Even at 1000 degrees Fahrenheit, the fire is not propagating. After that, wooden creep fire stops, you can see the fire didn't spread. Only that area it caught fire, and the other area it didn't spread. So this type of materials. So after this test, they approve it as FM approved. So this is again, as I said earlier, like they do periodic review for this insulation material or any other material, and they keep continuously updating on their website. Like another test, similar way. If you see the fire got spread, so this cannot be FM approved product. This insulation material in particular cannot be FM approved product because it got propagated. Generally for ducts, apart from this insulation material, we use dampers, fire dampers and all, whenever the duct is passing from this room to the other room in the building enclosure. So I think that can be taken care with that dampers also, fire dampers also, where the spread can be avoided. But for all other your pipelines, like your chilled water pipelines or your refrigerant pipelines, you can use this fire stoppers. I think many companies are giving now. So for pipe applications, you can use this latest fire stoppers, which can prevent fire propagation from one room to other room. The next comes the insulation material composition. The material should be CFC, HFC, SCFCs or VOC, SVOC free. These are very harmful chemicals, not only for nature, but for all human beings also. Before coming to this industry, I was in paint industry. There in paints also, people were using VOC free paint. Nowadays, even in advertisements, companies talk of VOC free paint. You can imagine what this VOC can do. A VOC paint which is applied on the wall, it will be there lifelong, and it will always be emitting that VOC content. It's always dangerous. So better use a material which is always VOC or SVOC free. ODP should be 0, and the adhesives or additives used to bind the material itself, like within the material, there are some insulation materials who might carry formaldehyde and all. So don't use those type of materials because they always emanate toxic gases. And use products which comply to green building codes and other codes. Even IGBC, Indian Green Building Council, they are propagating this concept, Green Pro products and all. So if you have a choice, we can use them. As I discussed earlier, claddings, they are mostly required to prevent water vapor diffusion resistance, and some insulation materials, it is required for fire properties also. There are many insulation materials which require claddings, otherwise you will not get those fire properties. So they might use foils or they might use claddings to get better fire properties. They are required for mechanical strength also, for ultraviolet resistance, or some cases they are used for aesthetic purposes. Maybe your functionals and all, generally it is directly exposed to our sites. They use aluminum foil to have a good appearance. In pharma applications and all, for cleaning and other reasons, they always prefer aluminum foil on the insulation material. Traditionally, we were using sand cement plaster or aluminum GI claddings. Now foils are there. Even fiberglass cloths are used as insulation coverings. And there are paints, ultraviolet resistance coatings, which can be used. The small uh, photograph, the first slide on the left-hand side of the bottom, there is a pipeline which is insulated with the rubber material, but it is exposed. If you see that material after some days, like it gets brittle and it will lose all its insulation properties. That is because of ultraviolet rays falling on it directly. So if you are using any insulation material like rubber and others, better use a cloth above that and go for a UV resistance painting coating. Otherwise, you have advanced claddings which most of the manufacturers can give you. Some claddings for reference. Next comes installations. Any insulation material, you can redeem all the benefits only when it is properly done. So basically the problems, condensation or heat losses, or all these type of problems, generally they come because of poor joints or inadequate use of tapes or adhesives, all other reasons. So I think all manufacturers nowadays, they're giving manuals or they share videos with you, or some manufacturers are giving trainings also. And even site supervisors, they can learn and do the needful at sites. And it's always good to use proper tools and do the installations. I'll just show you one video. Hope the video is visible now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's visible.
The audio of the video is not coming, Raju.
I think there's some problem, sir.
You share your screen, you will have to share the audio also. That's why.
Okay. See, before applying the insulation material, it is always suggested to clean the surface properly. This is what I wanted to highlight. Generally, we tend to wrap the insulation material. Am I right? At site, we don't do 4 surfaces separately. Do 4 sides separately.
Yeah.
That will lead to a problem. If the work or adhesive is not good, because of entrapped air, that gets opened up, and it will lead to all this condensation and other problems. So it's always suggested to go for 4 sites separately. Like this, all these videos available on the web, or all manufacturers nowadays, they're providing with manuals. Is the screen coming now?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
So, so better installation material, it can be,
Hello.
yeah.
Excuse me. Can I speak to you for 2 minutes?
Yeah, please tell me.
Yeah. I'm Subir Kumar Bhattacharya. Actually, I was looking after your videos, and I want to see the insulation procedure on exactly the flanges. How how the manufacturer is recommending the insulation procedure on flanges.
Yeah, I can do that, but I think audio is not coming, right?
No. I'm not viewing that way. So that audio is not coming.
Yeah, audio is not coming, but this is there. I think you can take down my number and or email ID. I will send it across to you.
So, sir, can you please give me your number?
Yeah, I think Amitava or Estate team otherwise 9642528844.
One minute, sir. 96
4252
964252
8844.
8844.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is there available in the internet, sir. Not only this company. I think.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
So,
I shall let you know.
yeah,
Okay, sir.
yeah.
I'll discuss you.
So there are many tools
Yeah, sir.
which you need to provide to the team, installation team. I emphasize for pipes to use better pipe supports, because this is always a big problem area. If majority of the times, like, the condensation happens at these places only in pipelines because of poor insulation at these places, like pipe supports. Better use good pipe supports which are pre-insulated and will give you good insulation properties. And it's always suggested to use manufacturer recommended adhesives or their own adhesives, tapes. Generally, in tapes, we tend to compromise using local cotton tapes and all, but always use insulation tapes only. At site, this is what generally we find. I'm showing you nitrile rubber example. Not only nitrile rubber, if you take any other insulation material also, if they find it useful, they open the insulation material, roll it, and they'll have their afternoon naps and all on the insulation material only. Otherwise, you can see how they are sleeping or how they are wasting the material. Insulation is a very costly material, but we see these type of wastages at site. So kindly keep it in a very good conditioned storage area, because if the same insulation material after this much of uh, this type of usage, if you use the same material for insulation, your thickness and all will go for a toss. Material can get punctured and thereby losing all your insulation properties. Give them proper space where they can lay it and cut it properly or apply adhesive properly. This only in one slide I'll try to complete. Otherwise, with this slide, I think on thermal insulation, I have briefly covered all the points, like which material you should select and what type of parameters you need to consider. And I have shown a small software also for thickness calculation and an installation video also. And I'm talking about acoustic material because in all our projects, we keep using acoustic materials, at least for the initial portion after AHU. We use inside the duct acoustic materials. We use fiberglass rigid boards or all this nitrile rubber foams or some other foams. How to select the material, I'll not go in detail, but generally every manufacturer will give the NRC, noise reduction coefficients. Like if it is 0.5, it doesn't mean that the sound level will get reduced by 50%. 0.5, again, all these calculations are all logarithm based calculations. If it is 0.5, generally it means the reduction in sound pressure is around 50%. And the overall reduction in dB level might be only 6. So don't think that if it is 0.5, then the reduction will be 50%. It's not like that. And as per Indian government law, these are the sound level limits during daytime and nighttime. In residential area or in office buildings, it should be around 55 dBA in daytime and around 45 dBA in nighttime. If there are schools or any other secure areas, it should be around 50 dB and 40 dB. So generally, whenever any client is asking or saying it's the air conditioning equipments or your duct or the flow of air is making noise, this will act as a ready reckoner. If the sound levels are say around 55 dBA or 45 dBA during the nights, it's okay as per the law of the nation. If you go to Europe or USA, the values are higher because of other reasons like their density or the space. The density is less, less number of people in a unit area, or the space are more, like spaces are more. So they can manage with a higher level of sound level also. So thank you. That's it. Any questions I can take? Hope it was good. For the first time I'm doing it online. Otherwise, all these years I used to do face to face.
Thank you, Raju. I think it's a very good presentation, and there's a lot of questions on the chat box.
Yeah. Should I open?
Yeah, please, if you can just go one by one.
Yeah.
I think the first question was at 7:15 from Shankar Bhattacharya. There's the first one.
1 second, sir. I'm not able to get that window.
You can close the sharing if you want.
Yeah, stop share. Yeah. I'm not able to see this chart.
Okay, I'll ask on his behalf. Kindly clarify the insulation thickness as per current ECBC norms.
See, ECBC norms for all your walls, all the envelope, it is always based on R value. So it depends upon the architect or the ECBC third party assessor who recommends. See, ECBC is actually, like, I am also a ECBC expert, but I'm not practicing it. So it depends, but otherwise, if you take R value, it is directly proportional to thickness. So, but they just don't take only insulation into consideration. They take the entire composite thing, your brick wall, or if you are able to provide hollowness, the property of that hollowness, or if you use hollow bricks, the better R value they'll get, or maybe some other wood covering they can give on the wall. They take the R value of wood also. So it depends upon the architect or the proposer, or by which method they want to get it certified as per ECBC. So they will ask. So if they ask some particular R value, then for that insulation material, you need to give that particular R value only. Otherwise, in simple terms, if you have 3 insulation materials and all the 3 insulation material thermal conductivity is say at 0.036 at 0 degrees centigrade, then if one part is 50 mm, then the other 2 parts should also be 50 mm.
Okay, there's one more question. How could we select correct underdeck insulation?
Same thing, sir. Here also the same role, like the architect or the designer, he will decide upon the R value. Again, it's a compost thing. Like most of the time, what these people do is they'll do overdeck insulation also with XPS and other materials, and they do with additionally they go for underdeck insulation also. So the composite R value, what they want, they will decide, and they'll be very clear. This is the R value I want from this insulation material, or this is the R value I want from this sand cement mortar, or this is the R value I want from bricks. They're very clear on that. They want a composite value.
Okay, there's one more question which I'm sure Raju and even me, we have faced all through our life. Which is a better insulation for chill water piping, puff or nitrile rubber?
I was talking about thermal conductivity, and I was mentioning that stationary air is at 0.023 watt per meter degree Kelvin at 0 degrees centigrade. But if you see puff and other, puff manufacturers, they will claim thermal conductivity at 0.02 watt per meter degree Kelvin at 0 degrees centigrade, which is lower than stationary air. And if you see advanced insulation materials like aerogel and all, they are less than 0.01 watt per meter degree Kelvin. So if you ask me, if it is a cold application, as per the data available, puff is having the lower thermal conductivity, which is at 0.02. But again, it depends. There are no established players. There are no reputed players in the market. I don't know who is manufacturing puff and what are their standards. The published data, whether it is correct or not, that all depends upon the user choice. But if you see the K value for chill water or any cold application, by default, the option will go for puff only. But there are other factors. What is the moisture diffusion resistance factor? We have seen that slide also. Puff absorbs moisture, so you need to give better protection from moisture ingress. What are the fire properties? If we go with all these international standards, these materials should have been stopped from using by this time, but still they are still in use. I'll not go into that subject, but yes, people in HVAC application also, they are using puff, and nowadays pre-insulated pipes are also coming into picture. That is also widely used. Yes, puff is a good insulation material with a lower thermal conductivity, but you should choose based on your easiness of application or availability, or the protection from moisture ingress resistance or fire properties. You should consider those factors also. But if I generally use it where these fire properties and all are not so much important, then puff is a good choice.
Okay, then next question is, which acoustic insulation is the best for use? Acoustic insulation, closed cell or rigid board?
Sir, rigid board generally requires a tissue paper on that and aluminum perforated sheet on that, thereby increasing the overall thickness, and thereby again increasing the duct size also. And whereas nitrile rubber or other materials, so they don't require these type of coverings, and at a lesser thickness also they are claiming better NRCs. So it is your choice, but both are used. But what I see the trend inside the duct, it is nowadays all nitrile rubber, but in AHU rooms and all, still people are using rigid boards and all. It's your choice. It mainly depends.
Raju,
Cost will be the
his
double of.
question was closed cell or rigid board.
Yeah.
Do you suggest closed cell for acoustic, or do you suggest open cell?
So again, acoustics, there are different technologies or methods by which you can arrest sound or noise level. So closed cell also, in one of the technologies, you can use it with a higher density material, because again, to arrest sound, there's other technology where you will reflect back the sound and the sound waves get dissipated. So that is a technology where you can use closed cell. But here in our applications, it is mostly absorptions. So it is always open cells, whether it is rigid board or whether it is nitrile rubber, any other material, it is always suggested to go for absorption materials, open cell materials.
Okay, Raju, there's one more question. What does velocity of air, how does velocity of air affect thickness selection, and what is the extent? Does the selection software is a certified one? There's two questions.
Yeah, see, if you take attic space inside application, personally encountered a problem maybe around 10 years back, where condensation was happening on the insulation material. When luckily I was able to go there, but I also felt very suffocated. Then I went back to the customer and said, please give an opening and put a ventilation fan. all your problems will go. So they did that and they came out of this problem. So it is always better to have a movement of air above the insulation material. Thereby, the flow of air will take away the humidity RH from the surroundings, and it will give a better temperature, thereby increasing the dew point temperature in the surroundings. On the insulation surface, the condensation happens mainly because of the dew point temperature on the surface of the insulation material.
Okay, there's one more question that you would agree that top deck insulation is always better than under deck as per energy savings. How do we protect the insulation?
So generally, above the deck, people use XPS, but again on top of the XPS, they'll again lay a layer of sand, cement, plaster, and above that again tiles. So
Okay.
whenever XPS or other insulation materials are used, exposed surfaces, whether it is on the top or on the exteriors of the walls, above that they'll again give protection.
Okay, there's one more question on the XLP, that in case of copper soft pipe insulating, if we use XLP, what will be the installation procedure in bend part?
So now I think even today XLP for pipelines, the usage is less. Otherwise, for this question only, like again, XLP pipes also like nitrile pipe sections only. So generally it is based on the adhesives what we use. Almost same procedure.
Okay, class 1 and class O you have shared in, I think, very properly. So there were some questions on that. I'm not going to go on that details.
Class 1 is generally used for retail applications where fire properties are not that stringent a requirement. But if it is a project, it is always suggestible to go for class O only.
Okay, there's one question. What is the basis of assumption made while considering RH value of selections in generally the above false ceiling application? It is hard to predict.
Right, sir. That is what I was sharing, my experience. It all depends upon the attic space, what type of air movement is there. So that is very tricky. So it's always suggestible to have openings and ventilation fans there. Otherwise, it's going to be very risky.
Raju, if you could just share your email ID, then I can maybe forward the same to all the people. You can mention the chat box, or you can tell me, I'll just type down.
1 second, sir. Yeah.
I'm sure there would be more questions, so they can directly connect with you.
Yeah, I'm sharing my number and email ID.
Yeah, that would be great, Raju.
Shomajit, we are not seeing your screen, so we won't be able to see Raju's mail ID that you would be typing.
It's in the chat box, he's typing.
Okay, it's in the chat box. So everybody can copy from the chat box.
Yes, he's written it.
Yeah, his phone number and mail,
Yeah.
both. So for further questions, you may just write to him and he can answer those.
Sure. That would be better, because I'm sure there will be a lot of questions after this also. So I think that would be it. Thank you, Raju, for your
Thank you.
great presentation. It was very thought-provoking, and I'm sure it's a lot of informative for all of us. And it's a pleasure to have you online.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is the first time I'm able to give. I'm trying to give on online platform.
Very good.
Yes, when it is one-to-one, there will be a lot of questions, and it will be more interactive. Like it should be more of interactive.
Correct.
Good. Thank you, Shomajit. Thank you very much. Thank you, Raju. Thank you, other participants also.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
I
you.
close
Bye-bye.
down now.
Yeah. Thank you.